challenging old systems and building new ones. In the quiet corners of universities, the bustling halls of think tanks, and the vibrant streets of America's cities, a new generation of Black economists is rewriting the nation's financial playbook. For centuries, economic theory often overlooked or misunderstood the lived realities of Black communities, embedding inequality into the very fabric of policy. Yet today, these scholars and visionaries are reclaiming the narrative, blending rigorous analysis with an unyielding commitment to justice. Their work is more than numbers on a page. It is a profound act of resistance and hope, a blueprint for a more equitable future. As their voices rise, they illuminate the intersections of race, wealth, and power, and challenge a nation to confront its deepest economic truths. The story begins long before the present moment. In the shadows of Reconstruction, Black intellectuals like Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois grappled with the economic devastation wrought by slavery and segregation. Their debates, fierce and foundational, laid the groundwork for understanding how economic opportunity, or its absence, shaped Black life. But the mainstream economic establishment often ignored these early insights, favoring theories that justified status quo disparities. Decades passed, and the civil rights movement pushed forward, demanding not only political rights, but economic justice. Yet, the systemic barriers persisted, redlining, employment discrimination, wealth gaps. In this crucible, the seeds of today's Black economist work were planted, growing from a legacy of resilience and relentless inquiry. Today's Black economists stand on the shoulders of giants, yet they face unique challenges and opportunities. Their scholarship confronts the stark realities of racial wealth inequality, which the Federal Reserve reports remains vast. The median white family holds nearly 10 times the wealth of the median Black family. These disparities are not accidents, but the outcomes of policies and practices, historical and contemporary, that have systematically excluded Black Americans from the nation's economic prosperity. By employing innovative methodologies and interdisciplinary approaches, these economists reveal the structural mechanisms that perpetuate inequality, from housing markets to labor dynamics, from education funding to healthcare access. Their work peels back layers of complexity, exposing the hidden architecture of economic injustice. But this is not merely a critique of the past or present. It is a call to action, a vision for transformation. Black economists are pioneering new frameworks that center equity and inclusion at their core. They advocate for reparations not only as moral redress, but as economic policy, a strategic investment in communities' long-denied resources. They design models for community wealth building, emphasizing cooperative ownership and democratic control of assets. Their research informs policies aimed at closing the racial wealth gap through targeted education funding, small business support, and equitable lending practices. In doing so, they challenge the dominant narrative that economic success is solely the product of individual effort, revealing instead the collective responsibility embedded in building a just economy. Institutions are beginning to listen. Universities have established centers dedicated to studying racial economic disparities, often led by Black scholars who bring lived experience to their academic rigor. Foundations and philanthropic organizations now prioritize funding research and initiatives that address economic justice through a racial lens. Policymakers, too, increasingly consult these economists, recognizing that traditional economic models often fail to capture the realities of marginalized communities. This shift is not without resistance. The entrenched interests that benefit from inequality push back, wielding economic orthodoxy as a shield. Yet, the persistence of Black economists is reshaping dialogues in boardrooms, legislative chambers, and public discourse alike. Consider the work of Dr. Lisa D. Cook, whose scholarship bridges economic history and policy. Her research on the consequences of racial violence reveals how acts of terror and intimidation against Black Americans suppressed innovation and entrepreneurship for generations. By quantifying these losses, she reframes economic history through the lens of racial injustice, compelling economists and historians to rethink foundational assumptions. Or take Dr. William Sandy Darity Jr., whose decades of research deconstruct the myth of a post-racial economy and champion reparations as a necessary policy instrument. Their efforts exemplify how Black economists blend empirical rigor with moral clarity, crafting narratives that are both analytically sound and deeply human. The impact of their work extends beyond academia. Community organizations harness these insights to design local economic development strategies rooted in empowerment rather than extraction. Black-owned banks and credit unions, informed by contemporary research, are reclaiming their role as engines of community wealth. Microfinance initiatives tailored to address systemic biases in lending create pathways for aspiring entrepreneurs of color. These tangible shifts illustrate how theory translates into practice. The financial ecosystem is slowly transforming as Black economists' ideas permeate the structures that govern capital flows, investment decisions, and economic opportunity. Yet, the journey is far from complete. The racial wealth divide stubbornly persists, a reminder of how deeply entrenched inequality remains. Economic crises, such as the 2008 recession and the COVID-19 pandemic, have repeatedly exposed and widened these fissures. Black workers disproportionately face job losses, wage stagnation, and barriers to health care. The legacy of exclusion is etched into every economic statistic. Black economists respond not with despair, but with renewed determination. They challenge policymakers to adopt bold interventions: universal basic income, targeted wealth taxes, affordable housing initiatives, and expanded educational access. Their vision is one where economic policy is a tool of liberation rather than oppression. This vision resonates with a broader cultural awakening. Movements for racial justice, from Black Lives Matter to grassroots organizing, amplify demands for economic equity. Black economists are integral to this discourse, providing data-driven frameworks that legitimize and deepen calls for systemic change. They remind us that economic justice is inseparable from racial justice, that the health of the nation's economy depends on dismantling barriers that have long excluded millions from full participation. In classrooms, conferences, and community meetings, their voices inspire new generations to imagine and build economies that serve all people. The influence of these economists also reaches global dimensions. As nations worldwide grapple with inequality and systemic racism, Black economists contribute to an international dialogue on reparations, development, and inclusive growth. Their research informs policy in countries with similar histories of colonialism and racial stratification. This global perspective enriches their work at home, fostering solidarity and shared strategies across borders. The roots of economic justice extend deep and wide, touching lives far beyond American shores. Connecting struggles and aspirations. In a collective quest for dignity and opportunity. Amid these sweeping changes, the personal stories of Black economists reveal the human heart beneath the research. Many have navigated educational pathways fraught with obstacles, from under-resourced schools to institutional biases. Their journeys, marked by perseverance and brilliance, underscore the transformative power of education and mentorship. And they embody the very principles they study: the belief in potential, the capacity for renewal, and the imperative of community. Through their work, they honor the sacrifices of those who came before and blaze trails for those who will follow, affirming that rewriting the financial playbook is also about reclaiming identity and agency. As this chapter unfolds, America stands at a crossroads. The economic systems inherited are fraught with inequities that threaten the nation's social fabric and moral compass. Yet, within these challenges lies profound possibility. The work of Black economists illuminates pathways toward an economy that is not merely efficient but just, not solely productive but inclusive. Their scholarship and advocacy invite us all to reimagine the American dream, not as a distant ideal, but as an attainable reality rooted in fairness and shared prosperity. In their hands, the future of finance and policy is being reshaped, infused with the promise of a roots renaissance. They are rewriting America's financial playbook, turning pages stained with exclusion into chapters of empowerment. Through their intellect, courage, and vision, Black economists breathe life into a narrative long silenced, transforming the abstract language of economics into a story of collective hope. Their work challenges us to reckon with history and to build a future where wealth reflects not privilege, but justice, not division, but community. In their hands, the economic landscape is being remade, root by root, seed by seed, toward a renaissance that honors the past while forging a more equitable tomorrow. This has been Roots Renaissance. See you in the next chapter.